Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey, good day, Canada. Good afternoon to Eastern Canada. And hello to Canadian sports fans around the world. Welcome to Hour 2 of the Rod Pedersen Show. I'm a pretty happy guy on this Football Friday. In a moment, I'm going to tell you why. You have seen, for our viewers on Facebook Live, that we've got some guests in the bunker here. Hall of Fame rider, broadcaster John Frenzy here. Saskatchewan Roughriders kicker Brett Lauther with us here in the bunker. Hello, Brett.
How's it going?
Good. Glad to have you here for your debut on the program. I'm excited for this. Everybody's excited for this. Did you see your banner down on the hallway on your way in here?
Yeah.
Legends Hall?
Pretty lucky to have that up there in here.
Did they make you sign it, or did they get you to sign it?
Not yet.
But you're going to.
I will, for sure.
We stole that from the Saskatoon Kinsmen from the dinner, by the way. Don't tell anybody.
Don't tell them.
Producer Clark says, can you pull that mic right into you, if you don't mind? The reason I'm so happy is last hour we had Nick Arbuckle with us from the Ottawa Red Blacks and Mike Abou-Meshrik, who's still with us over there on the sponsors couch. But we've cleared the air that although I nicknamed him Nick Fatty Arbuckle, it was not offensive, not intended to be, and I don't think he's fat. And he is aware of 1920s silent film star Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, so he's not offended. We got that out of the way, and now we can all be friends and maybe cheer for the Ottawa Red Blacks here this season. We were supposed to have Gord Bamford with us here in Hour 2. For those that have just tuned in, or maybe you're just listening to the podcast Hour 2, Gord Bamford has canceled on us, the country star, so we'll move on and maybe catch up at a later date.
I want to meet him.
Well, it would have been video chat anyways, Frenzy. He wasn't coming in, so maybe we'll do it one day that you're in here. That would work great. He is coming through Moose Jaw, starting a tour here. That's the first date of a big tour coming up next month. I see there's some news come down from the Players Association. David in Vancouver has been writing in some information on the TJ Jones situation and the rookie salary cap. So, Clark, if you can dig that up, please let me know what it is. And let's, without any more preamble, bring in Brett Lauther. How you doing, Brett? I know I asked you that already, but now I mean it for real. How are you?
No, I'm great. Happy to be here.
So look, I got to say this. You're watching my Instagram or Facebook story yesterday, and I was out at the Cooperators Arena last night. You wrote, and I put that on my story. You said you played there just yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday at noon, actually.
Who are you playing with?
I went out the night before, just randomly had like a crew of guys, and one of the guys invited me. Sorry, I'm not great with names, and I can't really
It's all
remember.
good.
Invited me to go out at noon, and I don't remember if it was a engineering firm or what type it was, type of hockey. And yeah, we just played against another team and had some fun.
So there is no off-season clause for playing rec hockey as a professional football player with the Saskatchewan Roughriders?
I've been asked this a lot.
Have you?
Yeah, so
And you ask it now.
I've played every year. No one's told me I haven't been allowed, and I know Coach Dickey kind of, almost for me, promotes kind of doing off-season
cross-training.
sports. Yeah, so as long as you're smart, and I'm not playing hitting hockey or anything like that, and I am kind of at the point where I'm shutting it down. But I mean, a lot of guys go skiing. I feel like that's a lot more dangerous than basketball, a number of other sports. So as long as you're smart about it and not being silly and out there doing things.
But you got to do something, don't you?
Yeah, I love hockey. It was kind of my first sport, and something that I got into before football. So for me to give it up, it's pretty tough. And we're also not in the NFL making millions of dollars, where it's a big difference. So for me, I'm always going to play until someone forces me, telling me I can't do it.
Well, and Dickinson's a snowboarder. I mean, who would he be to tell you not to play any ice sports?
Yeah, and he's
right?
never said anything. Even when I went in to work out yesterday, J.O. just asked what was going on. I said I just left hockey and didn't say a word about it. So
beautiful. So on that, Casey writes in. Casey Andrews says Chris Getzlaff also played rec hockey when he played for the Riders. They all did if they could. Even Charleston Hughes tried skating this year. Which, before we get into the actual nitty-gritty of the football questions, and by the way, folks, if you're watching, listening, the Prairie Mobile text line is on 306-840-8777. Any questions or comments for Brett Lauther, well, fire him at him. But I mentioned Charleston Hughes. I don't know about you, but I've thought so much about that weekend in Saskatoon that we were all together with Grant Fuhr, Martin Brodeur, Eddie Belfour, Glenn Hall, Bernie Perrant, yourself in Charleston. The Rush game, the dinner, That was one of the best weekends of my life. Did you have a lot of fun up there?
Yeah, the exact same. I mean, grew up a hockey kid, so getting to spend time with those guys and getting invited to such a big event, I really didn't know too much about it going in, but after being out there, it was definitely one of the best weekends I've ever had, and being behind the scenes with Fuhr, Brodeur, Belfour, all those guys, and kind of getting to talk to them a little more personally and just learn from their experiences, and growing up watching the Colorado, Detroit series, New Jersey series, and just a lot of guys that have memories and conversations about playing against those guys. It was pretty cool.
Frenzy, you may or may not find this interesting, but were you a Bernie Perrant fan, John?
Yeah, sure was.
I think everybody was. Philadelphia Flyers in the 70s. He was all over Brett about kicking and questions and mental preparation.
Is that right?
Wasn't that something?
Yeah, it was super cool, that dinner that day. I mean, usually it's the opposite. I'm trying to talk to them and engage with them, and they're kind of the big stars there. And he was just so into what I was doing and asking questions about football. And it was super cool just to be around those guys and just, they're just normal guys that just kind of did a job. And whether we think it's pretty big or not, it's just what they did.
Yeah.
A lot of players here, Rough Riders, Americans, here this offseason. I think am I right about that?
Staying out for the winter?
Yeah, staying here for the winter.
Yeah, there's a few guys. I actually talked yesterday with a few guys just about how back a few years ago you used to have, Begg, Getzlaff, Durant, I don't want to miss any names, Dressler. They used to stay out here more in the off seasons, and that's kind of what's been more enticing for me to be back out here, not only for training and a number of other purposes. And I know this year's a big year, but every year is a big year. But I was on the other side of things in 2013 when we came out here on Hamilton, and I know what it means. So for me, just being out here and trying to train with these guys and get better and put everything we can into winning a Grey Cup this year, it's why I'm back.
No. So hang on. Well, it's okay. Yeah, so we're all getting to the football discussion here because you knew we were going to. And I just want to, Frenzy, hold on to that question because Wayne in Victoria, who's your buddy, right, John?
Yep.
He's got the question we all want to know. Hey, Brett, do you like having the pressure of a last-minute field goal, or are you happy to just kick extra points? No stress. Like, there's no stress on 32-yard single conversions.
Yeah, and I'm actually probably the only one, I think, that kicks from 33 because we're 8 yards back. But, it's just is what it is. Everyone's doing it. So for me, if I have to go out and kick one to win a game, or if I have to go out and kick extra points, it usually means we're winning by a lot more. There's no pressure either way, and just do what I'm asked. And
well, you sense, I'm sure you sense with the Grey Cup here, and the players around here, and talking to fans, there's a lot of pressure on this football team, like there was in 2013. They go out and win that Grey Cup. We won fifth. We won 5 Grey Cups, eh? From 1950 to now, we've been in it 12 times, won it 4 times, 33 and 3rd%. Not too good, eh? That's the worst record in the league. We want to improve on that. We're definitely a must feeling that team must win the Grey Cup this year by some fans. Maybe that's too much pressure, I think, but really, there's no reason why we shouldn't. The kind of team we got, the number of all-stars we bring back, all-star quarterback, the best quarterback in the league, and the beautiful stadium, good money, getting good players in. We certainly, right now, I know we're favored by the bettors to be finished first. So
to win the West.
To win the West.
Yeah.
Well, to go all the way. How do you feel about that? Or you guys put that on your mind?
Yeah, for me, I think there's only pressure if you let there be. So us putting extra pressure on ourselves or anything like that, for me, it's not going to help. So I don't do that at all. And saying this time of year who's going to win the West or not, there's a lot of good teams in the West and in the East too. So I think it's kind of a little naive to say we're the favorite or not. Maybe we should wait and see what our team looks like in November, because if anyone knows the last 2 years with injuries right before playoffs and this type of league and the type of league it is, it's pretty small. So your team can look a lot different come November. And I'm not counting out Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, or BC in the West right now. So, we're definitely a confident bunch. 12 and 13 win seasons. It's not easy, but we got a lot of work ahead of us before we can start talking about the Grey Cup.
By the way, if you can believe, breaking news. Thank you, Clark, for putting this up here. Big signing today from Peel Police Force. Abu, is that Toronto area?
That's my area. That's Mississauga.
Mississauga, Ontario, Abu says from the couch. Big signing today. Standout football player Brandon Bridge, Air Canada. His former coach got the deal done. Apparently, he's with Peel Police as well. Brandon will be part of the next generation of police leaders. Wow. I was of the belief that Brandon Bridge was going back to the BC Lions. No. He's starting his career as a police officer in Toronto.
How about that?
Amazing. And good for Brandon, by the way. He'll be fantastic at whatever he decides to do. But I would suggest you played with him, Brett. Could you see him coming back to pro football at some point?
I personally, I don't want to speak for Brandon, but I talked to him a little bit last year and on and off the field, and he told me then that he was kind of shifting into making this move, so it's not really a surprise.
Not news to you?
No, I kind of knew this was happening. So
wow. Well, all the best to Brandon, because he's a first-class guy.
Definitely.
Such a super guy.
Yeah, for sure.
So, by the way, to the questions from the viewers, and can you keep the questions coming in, because it makes my job way easier. Right, Lynch?
That's right.
It's like the sports dinners. I'm like, let's take questions from the crowd. Then I don't have to think.
It's thinking that gets you down.
Thinking gets you down. Somebody wrote in and asked about any more trips to Pill Country planned. See, those are the best questions. The fans know those ones. The walk-off, field goal, Labor Day Classic, Brett kicked it, and you guys hustled all the way to the other end of the field to celebrate with the fans. There's a story behind that.
Definitely, yeah. Just the fact that me and John talked about that 4 days before, I believe, and it was something that we talked about when we were talking just like years ahead, or if we were ever there together for it to happen. I mean, I'd never kicked a game winner with no time left before, so for it to have it that happen right away that first weekend, it was kind of just one of those things that you're like, well, that was meant to be. But I mean, for us, we're just kind of having fun. We don't really care what people think aside of it. I mean, I'm probably not supposed to be in the position I'm in or even sitting here in front of you guys today, so I'm just going to have fun, and if I end up back in Pill Country this year, then I'm going to have some more fun.
Yeah, it's an extra special week, that Grey Cup week.
Definitely.
And the fact that we're in it, too,
keeps thinking. But
makes it a bit
here
more.
he said they got so much work to do before the Grey Cup.
But I'm saying, I just want to let him know that I'm not putting pressure on him. I'm just telling him factually, it's a different week. For the fans, for the broadcasters, you know it's different, for God's sakes.
I know Brett well enough to know that you probably won't even allow yourself to think about the Grey Cup, because then you'll forget about what you got to do today.
Yeah, you kind of got to enjoy the moment and stay in the moment, and we know the date of the Grey Cup, and it's going to come when it's supposed to come. So for now, we're just staying in the moment, and I know how big it is, because in 2013, I spent that week out here on Hamilton. I realized what it means to the fans here, and I think that's kind of a bad attitude if we go in this year just thinking we need to win this year because it's at home, because every year we're trying to win. We're not trying to just, when we host a Grey Cup, we're going to win that year. It's like I'm trying to win every single year that we're out here. So
what about the league trying so hard to get that 10th team, to get Halifax in here, or Moncton, somebody from the Maritimes? What's your thinking as a player who's been around? Do you think that's a good idea, or are they showing us they really don't want it? They don't seem that enthused?
For me, Halifax is definitely where we want it. I think it is going to happen from what I'm hearing kind of behind the scenes. I feel like there could be a big announcement coming up.
That's great to hear. Is there?
There could be. We'll see. When I'm out when we play that game this year in Halifax, the tickets just went on sale. I'm pretty sure it's almost sold out already.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
I feel like it's going to be a mini Regina, mini Saskatchewan out there with just the fan base. We don't have a lot of other pro sports or anything to deal with.
Picked up the lacrosse this year, didn't they? They're in the lacrosse league too.
Their first year out there, so a couple other things are kind of getting picked up. And the fan base for football, it's always been a hockey community in the Maritimes, and I feel like it's ready to make the transition into football, and I think it's going to be a huge hit out there.
You could be, if you're not already, just an amazing ambassador for the CFL in the Maritimes. You said there's people already all over you from out there to come play for the Schooners. How do you answer that question?
I just tell them, I mean, they're not a team yet. I'm a rider, and I'm happy to be in the situation I'm in. It kind of gave me my first home, so pretty loyal guy. But down the road, you never know what can happen in such a small league. But for now, I mean, I'm just concentrating on being a rider and doing the best I can to kick points for the guys.
Why do you think the Schooners, when they happen, will work?
I feel like they're not focusing on just like it's Halifax's team. It's kind of a maritime team, so a multi-province team. I feel like they're not rushing into anything, and they're actually going through all the legal steps and the location they're kind of picking and everything like that that's going to make it work. The fan base and the feedback I've been getting, which is probably a lot different than anyone else really hears, but I get so many messages, and my dad kind of being an ambassador about facilitating the messages through him and how many people are reaching out and how big of a deal it is. So football and a lot of sports are growing everywhere, and out there it's just one of those things that I think the CFL going to a coast-to-coast league, having the 10th team, it's going to be a big step.
Well, the one thing they will do is the same thing they did with Ottawa. Stack the team so they'll be content right off the bat. That's a must, don't you think?
I mean, they did it in Ottawa and it worked, so you kind of would hope they'd want to do it out there right away because, I mean, it's not only good for the league, it's good for players. It opens up more jobs. So however they go about it, I'm sure the league will handle it properly. But if they want to stack it or not, I mean, it's only going to help the fans come to the games. So,
some questions from the viewers. From our director of scouting, Craig Smith, 2-time Grey Cup champion, who's normally in here. He's watching today. Says, Brett, what did you do to get so consistent? Did a coach make a tweak here and there? Great job, brother.
For me, I felt like I always could do it. I know I got to play when I was in 2013, when I was 22, a few games, and 10 kicks is a pretty small sample. I feel like there's a lot of guys that miss the same amount, and just jumping around from different holders and kind of just being young and not knowing what was going on. And then the next year kind of getting to go behind Medlock for a season. I feel like that's kind of what shaped me into what I am, and him staying in my corner, just kind of believing in myself and always working hard and training all those years. And then once I got with Coach Dickey in 2017 and they sent me home again, they told me that just work on these two things. And I worked really hard on just eliminating my jab step and working on the mental side of the game too. And then now I feel like I'm in a place where every time I go out, I'm confident I can make the kick.
It's a great question, Smitty. I asked him that in Saskatoon. He's did it for the most part on his own. It's amazing. From our intern, Alan. Hey, Brett, who was your favorite kicker when you were young?
I definitely didn't have one. I didn't even start or know anything about football until I got to high school. And I was a hockey guy. So, I mean, my favorite athlete and stuff growing up was Joe Sakic. And big fan of his and the Colorado Avalanche from the 90s and when he was there. But as far as a kicker and kicking as a kid, it just wasn't something I did. And even when I went to high school, I played receiver and some quarterback and kicked. And when I went to St. Mary's my first year, all I played was receiver. I got recruited as a receiver, and Justin Pilardi actually moved on to the CFL, and they kind of brought some guys in. I felt like I could still do it, so I started kicking again.
Do you have a kicking coach in this team?
Coach Dickey, I'd say, is our kicking coach. We don't have like a specific guy that's brought in for just kicking, but I mean the whole first year in 2018, Dickey's our special teams coordinator, and he had some prior kicking experience, more punting, but yeah, he's definitely a guy that knows what's going on, and when we need it, we can go to him, but for the most part, we just kind of work things out on our own.
We have a swarm of questions and comments coming in from our viewers, and I'm going to dig into this. David in Vancouver's watching. He says, this kicker has nerves of steel. From Alan Lee. That's our intern. Brett Lauther, the man of steel. Man, you're the new Superman with G. Roy retired. We'll talk about that and more when we come back. The Frenzy Walk-Off is coming up. Mike Abomeshik will be back with us in studio. It's a Football Friday on the Rod Pedersen Show, Facebook Live, and listen live at rodpedersen.com.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.